I have been absolutely loving what this Zerg player does in the late game against Terran. Spotting right here in the bottom left-hand corner, playing in blue. We're looking inside of the main base of a Rogue. Now, I figured he recently played a best of 5, that's this one right here, against one of the most macro-oriented Terrans on the planet. So I'm secretly hoping we're gonna see that Mass Overseer style yet again. Playing in the red, we have Spirit. It's also been a little bit... it's been a little bit since I've last seen Spirit play. Last time around, however, he was basically dragging about half the games to the 45-minute mark. No longer the case. No, we are starting off with a triple barracks proxy. Oh, we have a drone scout as well, though. Hold up, what's going on? Proxy hatch from Zerg against a triple Rex cheese from Terran. Well, whatever my introduction was about, forget it. There is very little sense in trying to proxy hatch a Terran player in the first place. I can imagine that maybe Rogue has not necessarily been enjoying the long macro games as much against Spirit, because Spirit certainly can be quite a tough opponent to go up against, but I think he's totally okay with playing those sorts of strategies out, but apparently neither player really wants these games to drag on, so let's find out. Obviously, this is just game number 1 in a best of 5. I highly doubt we're going to be seeing this in every single game, but what's the point of this, right? Like, we're very familiar with the triple Rex proxy. You build a bunch of, well, bunkers over here. You maybe go for a bunch of Marines, sometimes a Reaper variant instead, but this particular one is going to be all Marine. This now will get scouted, but what about the proxy hatch? Is this good for Rogue? So Rogue went hatchery in his opponent's natural, then a spawning pool at home, his own natural expansion, and I guess he's going to be able to begin the link production right over here. There is going to be a bit of creep, though, within vision right now with that hatchery done. The natural expansion here for Rogue will certainly have to be given up on. Roach Warren coming up inside of the main base, bunker building at home, but Spirit has no units at home. He's going to be rallying these barracks from the other side of the map all the way across. We do have a bunch of Marines over here, though, but the bunker is not yet finished. What an absolute clown show so far in game number 1. Where you have 2 players trying to outsmart each other. This is like buying a ticket to the circus. What is even happening? This is way better, though, here for Rogue than it is for Spirit, because, I mean, roaches are going to be out in a moment. Brenda is going to be available in a moment. We have a spine crawler building on the other side of the map. Natural here for the Zerg does get cancelled in the end, but I think that's only beneficial for him, because that means he's going to be able to get his resources back. Double spine crawler building, roaches are coming up, SCVs are in a world of trouble, although some pretty good micro here by Spirit, getting at least a majority of the surface area reduced there. Marines are going to be rallied all the way back. Bunker is up in the natural of the Zerg. Wait, now the Marines? Hold up right now. The Marines that were proxied out of 3 barracks on the other side of the map are now contained out of their own main base. That spine crawler, together with Brenda, is going to be able to keep loads of these units at bay. I have just accidentally loaded up a viewer-submitted game, but at the absolute highest level. I think if you target down the workers, it's fine for the Zerg, right? He decides to go after the units instead, but I think targeting the SCVs here would be better. 3 additional roaches just about to pop up, reinforcing roaches from the Zerg's main base also coming in. The problem with killing the workers here for the Terran is that Spirit now has a handful of them remaining. GG. Yeah, he's got, well, only 4. You know, I love art. And that particular game was extremely abstract, but it's still art. This is the type of picture you see in a museum where it's just a bunch of squares and dots and whatever on a canvas. Most people don't appreciate it, but that was certainly a very sophisticated game of StarCraft 2. There ain't no way. There's no way. Rogue is sending out another drone straight across the map. What is this? What are we doing? What has Rogue figured out that other Zerg players have not? Is there some sort of early game weakness for Spirit? I highly doubt it. Spirit is one of the highest ranking Terrans from the European server. He's been playing this game for as long as I know. It's a double proxy Rex, or proxy Rex, proxy hatch. I guess we didn't really get to see what the original plan was for Rogue, right? There's really no way that you can plan for your opponent to build a bunch of barracks on the other side of the map. Worked out perfectly in that instance. What is this going to be? What's the purpose of it? I guess one of the ideas is that you can sort of keep your Terran opponent distracted for a while, right? But as soon as Spirit sees that there is a hatchery on the low ground, rather than making the command center there, you can just build it over here and then fly it down to the low ground eventually. We've seen proxy hatcheries a bunch against Protoss over the years. Spirit is going to see it right now. Starts up a bunker right away. He doesn't really want to risk it. It looks like we do have a follow-up drone once more. So Rogue is planning on building a spine over here too. Spirit now taking a page out of the Protoss player's handbook. It's very common for Protoss to pull 4 SCVs, or in their case 4 probes, together with a zealot to try and kill the hatchery before it finishes. Now, this is not early enough, and the Marines' firepower is not as significant as a zealot's. I guess there's a bunker, which obviously needs to be added into the mix. He goes for the command center on the low ground. The drone, by the way, has gone back home, I assume, right? Yeah, it must have. I don't see it out on the map anymore. I guess by seeing all of this aggression from the Terran to try and clear this out, he has realized that this is going to not be happening again. You cannot, by the way, land or build structures on creep. So it's a little bit messy. Obviously, this command center is only like maybe a third or so of the way done. So I think by the time it's finished, the hatchery will probably be gone. And then obviously all of the creep will likely be gone too. But it can certainly mess things up a bit. Spirit just building it as close to this bunker as possible just so he can maybe still get it over here at a reasonable time. Bunker gets salvaged upon realizing that there isn't really a lot of follow-up aggression, and Rogue decides to celebrate with another hatch. This is now the 4th hatchery in this game that's not even 3 minutes long yet. Don't try this at home, kids. Maybe I need one of those disclaimers in front of every single one of my videos. These are professional gamers. Don't try these at home. This is... Leave it to the professionals. Alright. So we go for an orbital command. We do a little bit of long-distance mining. Factory decides to come in as well now to shut down that overlord for good. Yeah, it's not going to be able to reach back up to a high ground, so... Okay, and as the dust settles, who's in a better position? 3rd command center here is already finishing as well for Spirit, who is apparently not too concerned by the proxy hatch. So, who really benefited from that proxy hatchery? Was it the Zerg or was it the Terran? If you look at like the absolute resources lost, obviously a very significant advantage there for Terran, but he's been delayed a bunch as well. I really like the fact that Spirit immediately planted down the 3rd CC when he realized that this wasn't going to be some sort of roach follow-up or some sort of all-in yet again. We do have a lot of links though. Metabolic boost is seconds away from being done. Rogue is now following this up with a link flood. Isn't this the perfect moment to be making drones? Well, I guess if the factory was flying, it must mean that the units weren't being produced. Is this good enough for the Zerg player right now? There are 4 Hellions though, and I really like the hold position there on the ramp. Good movement here by the Terran player too. SCVs have already been evacuated up towards the high ground here. Wouldn't mind seeing the depots race. Yeah, there you go. And while there will be a bunch of SCV kills, I think this is still totally okay here for the Terran. Resources lost yet again, heavily in the favor of the Terran, but he needs to be a little bit careful. Ooh, you do not want these links in the main. Banshee now out. No anti-air available on this side of the map, at least for Rogue. He starts up a Spore Crawler and he's got a bunch of Queens. But this is very different than what we saw Rogue recently play in, for example, those games against Clem. Very interesting. Sometimes, and I don't really know exactly what the reasoning here is, but sometimes we get this thing in StarCraft 2 where the players feel like they are way better than the opponent. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Rogue and Spirit, I mean, I do think that Rogue is overall better at the game than Spirit, but it's really not that significant a margin. I guess against Clem, you can't really get away with shenanigans like the stuff we've been seeing so far, but I mean, Spirit has been managing this really well. I wonder if we just have like a little bit of disrespect going on here, that Rogue just kind of wants the games over with, or that it is indeed the fact that, well, most of the time, Spirit does not shy away from those 40-minute-long slugfests. Maybe Rogue is just trying to make sure that the games do not head in that direction. This particular series is from the Wardy TV Championship, so that's a $7,500 tournament. It is not just him having a bit of a giggle for 50 bucks, right? Like, this is a significant amount of resources, I guess. IRL minerals, that is, on the line. Love this Hellbat push, though. Hellbat Banshee on the back of this. We only have Zerglings here. No Banelings, no Roaches, so that means the Queens are really the ones meant to deal the majority of the damage. And now with the Spore Crawler gone, we start up a new one, but the Banshees are cloaked, and they're going to be targeting down all of the potential anti-air. Spore Crawler does walk on over from the natural expansion. We have a new one building over here, but it is a bit of a disaster here for the Rogue, for Zerg so far. Still, he's counterattacking with Lynx yet again. And all things considered, the drone losses have been kept to a minimum. We have a random supply depot out in the middle of nowhere. I guess a scouting depot. And we have a Spire on the back of this too. So a very different flavor of Zerg here than what we have been seeing most of the time as of late. Okay. I still like this spot better though for Spirit. Soon, we will see the map control. Oh, you do have to lift up the orbital here if you want to keep it alive. Okay. Soon, we will see map control switch back in favor of the Zerg player. But Rogue is going for very untested strategies, right? And this is a tried and true build order from the Terran. The direction here and the way we got there is a little bit odd, but ultimately we end up with Marine Medevac with siege tanks for support. We're going up to 8 barracks here inside of the main off of triple command center. We have a reasonably early 1-1. I wouldn't mind seeing an armory here in a moment to go straight into 2-2. But this is a strategy we've been seeing from Terrans time and time again as of late. And it's been extremely good, right? It's been very successful. Whereas on the other side of the map, Rogue did get to Mutiling Bane. Not too odd, I suppose, but everything feels ridiculously late. Normal time for like a Mutiling Bane opener for the Evo chambers these days seems to be about 6 minutes or so. And Rogue is now nearly 8.5 minutes into the game, and he still hasn't even started his upgrades. And that's my main concern. If Terran goes and continues upgrading, now he didn't actually build an armory, I don't think. No, he does. Oh, obviously he already built one to Hellbats. Good point. He's going to be able to go straight into 2-2, and those upgrades are going to be booming. Yep, there we go. He already built one when he went for the push with the Hellbats and the Banshees. Good management here as well of the first batch of Mutalisks trying to zone against those Mutas. Still no Evo Chamber upgrade started. I am a little bit concerned here for Rogue. He was really relying on this first batch of Mutas to deal a lot of damage, and while it's not been absolutely horrendous, Spirit does not seem to be too concerned. Now, he does need to be careful, though. This is a lot of Mutalisks. Okay. Decides to suddenly stim and turn around. Baneling speed is done. The creep spread, considering all the queens died and they had to be rebuilt, is still pretty darn good. But let's see, is this enough Terran to actually kill the 4th hatchery with? We already have a surround being set up. More and more reinforcing banelings are coming too. +1 flyer upgrades is just moments away from being done, but Rogue decides to pull the trigger right now. The spread on the siege tanks, though, is really good, and the majority of the Terran units indeed seem to stay alive. Still, the Terran units here are being thinned out, and the amount of anti-air is starting to look a little concerning. Okay, that's why this batch of Marines is joining in the fray. We did not see the +2 attack, or the +2 armor, by the way, from the infantry units queued up as well. Starts it up now as soon as I mention it. That's really useful, but here we go. Wave number 2 for the Zerg. Not that many banelings remain anymore. Good splits here by Spirit as well. There are a lot of Banes remaining, but this is a very good spot for the Polish Terran. Obviously, it's still finicky. But he micros it well. He controls it pretty much perfectly. Little out of character, by the way, as well, for Spirit to go for an 8-Rex, even though it's been popular on the European ladder. It is not necessarily something that Spirit has been favoring over the course of, like, the last 5 years, right? Like, he has been mostly a 4th command center kind of guy. But in this type of setup, I kind of love it. Yeah. Thor gets added into the mix as well here for that splash damage. Excellent bit of control. And maybe Rogue thought he was going to be able to get a very quick set of wins here. This might not be over yet. But maybe Rogue kind of went into the series expecting it to be a straightforward one. It does not seem to be the case at all. Game number 1, I mean, in the end, right, it can kind of feel like a bit of bad luck as well for Terran. Apparently, and it's a very weird situation to be in, but apparently when you proxy 3 barracks on the other side of the map with Marines, and you're going up against a proxy hatchery, the proxy hatchery is miles better. It's one of those situations you don't really see very often at all. A strange circumstance of rock, paper, scissors for StarCraft 2. You do have to be careful here, though, as Spirit still. Rogue is getting the absolute maximum of value, and he does finish up 1-1 now. It's been extremely delayed. Okay. The creep spread out here, though, is pretty atrocious. And while the hatchery has been up for a lot longer than I expected it to, it is now starting to take critical amounts of damage. And then we end up with 4 base Terran. Actually, no, 3 base Terran, because this is the old main base repositioning itself. 3 base Terran against 3 base Zerg. Full counterattack, though, from Rogue, who has given up on that hatch. Reinforcing Marines. They were in the middle of the map, had to turn back around. Okay. Yeah, and what exactly does Rogue still have at this point? I mean, he's got a decent army, a decent economy, decent upgrades, decent tech, but it's not really great in any real direction here. Now, obviously, if you have a good hit with Banelings, right, or maybe a bunch of burrowed Banelings, or maybe you can suddenly hit your opponent with a fungal growth, there are ways to come back into this. Alternative choice is to hope and cross your fingers that your opponent goes AFK and accidentally walks into a bunch of Banelings. It kind of feels like that is the option Rogue is trying to go for. Look at him spreading out the Banelings yet again, though. Desperately hoping that somehow, some way, we see this entire Terran army getting surrounded. And you know what? He may be onto something. Yeah, the creep here is really making this a difficult setup for Spirit. Spirit just not letting go of the pressure. He does not want to give up on this spot. He does get rid of the creep, by the way, eventually. There's still one tumor over here. I wouldn't mind seeing that one get sniped. Takes about a half minute for all of it to dissipate, but you can see it receding right now. Rogue sees it too. He decides to pull the trigger. He needs to hold this. Backs up at the Banelings yet again. A little bit of an elevator play into the main base. Spirit decides to back up. Okay. We have a secondary push now leading onto the left side of the map. Since this is basically pure Baneling, it's honestly too many Banelings. Good retargeting there as well with the siege tank into the middle of that clump. Nice splitties here too, although it's still obviously a lot of Marines. Yeah, the mutant numbers are good enough to eventually clean it up. We have a counterattack though for Spirit. If he can shut down this base as well, that would be massive. This is the new 4th. Rogue though not making this easy. Getting a lot of value. Good pickup right there with the medevac. Ooh, really? We decide to commit here straight up? These are properly upgraded Marines, Rogue. It's a little difficult to see exactly what's going on, and I think eventually there is yet again enough for the Zerg to clean this up. Almost surprisingly so. Reinforcing Marines yet again. The creep is really making this a lot more manageable here for Rogue, but now that only the mutas remain, yeah, the only thing that he can really do is type GG, but good effort there from Rogue. Spirit manages to even up the score. Okay, and that will take us to Winter Madness. Drone? No. SCV? Yeah, I think this is just going to be for a supply depot. We do have a worker leading... No, come on, no way. Really? I can't believe this. So 3 games in a row, Rogue starts off the game with a proxy hatch. It didn't work, though, in the previous game. I mean, Spirit clearly showed us that he is capable of dealing with it. Now, I do wonder, though, how good this truly is, right? So if you are, say you're a noob, right? like myself, for example, right? Say you're a ladder hero. I mean, I've been playing this game for only a few years. How many years has it been since 2010? Nobody knows. Anyhow, this is one of those build orders that will massively throw Terran off of their build order. Right? Because we saw Spirit deal with it very well. I thought it was pretty dang good. But apparently Rogue has decided that no, that is not the way Terran is supposed to deal with it. I can only imagine how your average ladder hero is going to be dealing with a proxy hatchery like this. Here we go again. Will we build up a bunker, Spirit? Last time around he went for a bunker. Obviously he doesn't know, right, how committed Terran is going to be. And that's kind of the problem. He's mixing it up. Yeah, so he's doing a very Protoss-esque response to this. But obviously he sees it later than Protoss would. Normally Protoss would go pylon on the low ground and gateway on the low ground, and then you kind of see the hatchery coming up immediately. In this particular instance, I mean, the hatchery is going to finish long before the real damage can get done. Bunker is delayed this time around. Do we go Roach Warren? We do have gas. Rogue though only, yeah, I think getting enough here for metabolic boost. If Brenda can pop out, I don't know, and like poop over here on the edge, right? AKA does what Brenda does better than anybody else out there. It can be extremely annoying for Terran. Secondary bunker too. Zerglings try to go into the main. Okay, we have a tech lab here to block it all off. Is the queen going to spawn? Going to be real close. Okay, Brenda's out. Brenda's out. My favorite Pokemon. Brenda uses poop. It's very effective. Wait, are we going to use it? He's trying to get rid of these Marines first and foremost. Brenda! Brenda, quick! Oh, no. Brenda! No! Ah, it's receding! Okay, Brenda's fine. Brenda's fine. She wanted to use tackle a couple of turns in a row instead. Fair enough. Yeah. Nobody likes constipation, Brenda. It's nothing to be ashamed of. This happens to all humans, okay? Yeah. It is what it is. So, how annoying is this? All memes aside, how good is this for the Zerg? Is it good? Terran is on 2 command centers. We did go for the more classical 1-1-1 here on the back of it. So in the previous game, we saw Spirit going straight into a triple command center follow-up. Now we went for a double gas 2cc 1-1-1. So much quicker tech. Spinecrawler's coming up though. Wait a second. Rogue is actually... Are we actually doubling down, Rogue? Is this smart? 3rd command center is coming up. Obviously, Rogue doesn't know that there is no 3rd... Like, he doesn't know about the 3rd command center, right? Like, he doesn't know that this is a delayed 3rd CC compared to what we saw in the previous game. So the Overlord here is going to provide high ground vision. And that means that the spines can get really close to the ramp and actually start opening up the door. There's a lot of lings on the back of this. We mostly, by the way, have the starport here with a tech lab. Not to go Banshees, but in order to go for a Raven. And the idea behind the Raven is to get rid of all of the creep tumors here. Instant heal here on the supply depot, slowing all of this down. But it is indeed just going to be that. I think this is just slowing everything down. We have a fusion core. Spirit is responding with battle cruisers? There ain't no way. What are we watching? This is a Terran on 3cc on 1 base going battle cruisers against a Zerg going for a Spinecrawler rush after a proxy expand. What is this? We have a 3rd hatch, by the way, building as well for Rogue in the meantime. But the question is mostly, when does he decide to go into the Terran's main? Because he's got, how many links? 50. Yeah, I think this is gonna be my first entry into the Game of the Year playlist for 2026. I mean, this is, again, a very sophisticated Game of the Year type of situation, though. Like, this is... If you've never watched StarCraft before, this is hard to appreciate. This is like, you know, this is like your black coffee of StarCraft, okay? No sugar, no cream. It's like your first whiskey. Do you like it? I don't know, but here come the links. Battlecruiser is about halfway done here. All of the Hellions seem to be dying, but the majority, actually, scratch that. Pretty much all of the SCVs -1 have died. Wait, no, hold up. No, only 2 SCVs have died. I completely misspoke. Sorry, Is the Battlecruiser actually going to be a banger? Rogue is, by the way, probably aware of the Battlecruiser. It could be a Banshee, but it's been in production for so long that he knows that it's likely going to be a BC. He does need to start up spores, though, at home if he is concerned about it at all. 2 Queens are not going to stop a Battlecruiser. Link still swooping around. I think Spirit will likely use the Battlecruiser, though, defensively. What is this? Okay, the Queen is dead. The Spine Crawlers are going to fall. And all Spirit wants to achieve is a little bit of peace and quiet. Now we have a Raven. Raven here for detection, yes. It is a mobile detector, so all of the creep here can indeed, well, be destroyed. It's still going to take about a half minute for the command center to actually be able to land on the low ground. We have the third actually getting blocked as well. Spirit is gonna, reposition the first. And we are just using the janitor crew here to try and clean all of this stuff up. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, Rogue is just pretending that we are now playing a macro game. Yeah, that's all we're really doing. He's droning now. Forget any sort of timing. If you are a StarCraft player that uses the in-game clock to determine what you should probably be doing, forget about it. In a game like this, it now has become completely useless. This is unexplored territory, even for the professional level. So how do you proceed? Roach Warren together with a Lair now. We do have a bunch of Zerglings available. Spirit finally is going to be able to secure his natural. 8 minutes in. Interestingly enough, he needs it. Because when you're mining with 3 mules inside of the main base, look at this. We're 8.5 minutes in. The main is pretty much empty. He is double expending, though, as a Terran player now. So he should be able to get all of this up and running. Already transferring SCVs from the NAT to the third. The third base does now land. We have a little clump of Overlords for some reason in the far top right. Okay. Man, Rogue is an absolute menace, though. Even if all of this for Zerg, in theory, even if it's all kind of bad, because I think if you put this in like a StarCraft Excel sheet, right? I feel like if you run the numbers, this is not a positive style for Zerg to play. But the problem is that, and this is the issue with pretty much every StarCraft strategy, the opponent is human, right? So how in the world is Spirit going to be able to navigate from the position that he's in right now? I think in theory, this is better for Terran. But I mean, margin for error is very small. And if you hesitate for even just a moment, Rogue is going to be able to pull very far ahead. Rogue, by the way, did make a whole load of spores. Oh, Raven dice. He's got 5 spore crawlers and like, I don't know, 7 queens here? Yeah, 7 queens against 1 BC. It's only been 1 battlecruiser. This battlecruiser really was just to clean up the aggression. That moment when you believe you need a battlecruiser to try and kill 2 spine crawlers and a queen. I kind of love it. But it is a curious choice. Yet again, by the way, we do have 8 barracks here for Spirit, but it is off of a 4th command center. So this is usually the amount of barracks that Terrans will go for. If you do it off of 3cc, usually it's practically an all-in. That's what we saw in the previous match. Then in this one, apparently we are doing the same thing, but with a 4th command center, meaning that it's a lot more macro-focused. Now, Rogue is following this up with another questionable play. This is going to be a Roach Ravager Ling with Infestors for support. So what he's skipping here is Banelings. Seriously, Rogue, what in the world are we doing? I kind of love it. Yeah. We do have a Baneling Nest now, but it's extremely late. +1 melee did start up, but he's following it up with +1 missile instead. Hive coming. No Hydra Den, so no Lurker Den. Considering we are going missile, though, I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of all of this is. This kind of reminds me, though, of the Rogue of the olden days. Like, Rogue used to be, in case you haven't been watching StarCraft for, like, a really long time, Rogue has always been one of the absolute hardest opponents to go up against. He has some of the very best macro in the world. He has some of the very best late-game control ever. But he's not afraid to just go for the most, what he deems to be the most abusive strategies he can find. And I feel like that is the mark of a really strong player. Most people are good in one thing, right? I mean, if you feel like you're really good at cheesing, or really good at playing Skytools, or really good at playing macro, whatever, usually that's the style you see them abuse over and over and over again. And you have this at the highest level too. Like, Serral, obviously, is a phenomenal macro player. He doesn't really have any real weaknesses, but he's reasonably predictable. And if you had to point out one weakness of Serral, I think predictability is one of them. And this is the same with, for example, Classic. It's the same, for example, with Clem. Rogue does whatever he wants, and he seems to be good at all of it, and you can never really expect what he's going to be doing next. Playing against it is tough. Battlecruiser now, though, goes into the main base. I think this is mostly for scouting purposes, but you know what? It's a big scout, and it works. Yeah, Rogue is a bit of a menace. Okay, what about this? Fungal! Ooh, does not quite hit everything. It was close to hitting everything, though. BC is gonna get sacrificed. I'm sorry, lad. But you are taking up too much supply. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit sad, but, you know, you're not upgraded. And 8 Marines are literally better than you. Yeah. It's a little bit, it's one of the unfortunate things about StarCraft. Sometimes the capital ships can be replaced by men with guns. Okay, let's see. The push here from Spirit is lovely, though. Getting this hatchery down and building up the eco on the back of this. Going personal cloaking for the ghosts as well. So a proper preparation for the late game here is all underway. I really like how Spirit is trying to resolve this very difficult puzzle that his opponent has set for him. Oh, and I love this too. Starting up a slow play into the opponent's natural expansion. Yep. This drop behind the mineral line, extremely annoying. Because now, obviously, the siege tanks from the low ground can help out. Corrosive Balls, though, are gonna take care of the tanks. A lot of Ravagers available. But this is kind of a mediocre Zerg army. It's decent enough, but it's not as proven to be effective as this of the Terran. Planetary Fortress is going to finish up at the top right-hand corner. Do see a few units getting cleaned up. Ghost production, by the way, has begun. So Spirit is replacing the lost siege tanks and supply and all the rest of it. Oh, big fungal! No biles available anymore. At the very least, that was one saving grace. Reinforcing Terran units do show up, but the lost troops here for the Terran, they are being replaced with more and more, well, ghosts here, especially the Marines, are being replaced. I wouldn't mind Spirit just chilling him for a bit, but if the previous game was anything to go off of, I think he wants to keep going. Getting rid of some of the creep here in the middle would be awesome, and that's the reason he wants to keep going. He doesn't really want to give the Zerg too much leeway to build all of it up again. Little Zergling run by heading up north. Rogue, though, is going to find out about the planetary, and Lings alone are not going to be enough. Lurker dead on the back of this for Rogue as well. Finally fired up the 2-2. And that is really something that he has been delayed by. Ooh, did we have an EMP? We did have an EMP. Nice drop right over there with the Ghost. Getting rid of at least some of the Infestor energy. Still no Banelings, by the way, in these fights. I mean, they're coming now, but it feels so late. Fungal Growth, though, making it difficult for Terran to really fight through all of this. And he decides to evacuate the troops on out of here. 3-3 is just moments away from being done. And it's going to be done before 2-2 for Rogue is halfway finished. That's massive. Lurkers are powerful, though. They don't really need upgrades that much. But I think across the board, this is leading into a really comfortable spot for Spirit. Assuming he wants to play the late game yet again. Well, judging by the fact he's going into a load of command centers, we have a second starport, we have advanced ballistics inside of the fusion core. He already built this one a while ago, may as well make use of it, right? He's got this proper late game transition coming up. And Rogue is alive, right? Like, his creep spread is decent, his upgrades are okay, the unit count that he has is good enough, but there's not really anything crazy to lean on here, and I don't think we're in a position where he can... well, he can surprise his opponent, but I don't think he's in a position where he can go into the mass overseer style that he's been loving. Whew. Yeah, fighting into a choke point like that, even with ghosts, not a good idea. But what we do have is a tactical nuke. Yeah, that would be one way to try and force this army to disappear. Here we have a surround, though. Fungal growth coming in. Lurkers moving to the front as well. Loads of splash damage available for the Zerg player right now. Another fungal to try and slow down the retreat of this Terran army. Good move here by Rogue yet again. Look at Spirit's economy, though. Spirit has taken... yeah, about a little more than like a third of the map at this point. He's got more income now than the Zerg player will. And he's got the more cost-efficient units. And while Spirit is, yeah, still playing against the Zerg here that moves around like he owns the place, I think he's playing this out very smartly. Tactical nuke will be flying across. He has spotted it. Fungal growth as a detection would also work. He decides to just settle on the Spore Crawler instead. Tactical nuke does land. 5 drones end up going down. Nothing too bad. Tactical nuke number 2 coming up. Okay. We've got the Hydra speed upgrade also queued here for Rogue. What Rogue really needs, though, is a proper maxed out army. We have more fungals, more lurkers, more splash damage here, and Rogue is making this kind of happen. Well, how is Rogue even making this happen in the first place, honestly? I feel like I've seen Zerg players just sort of crumble under the pressure for a very long time, but Rogue always making his army feel bigger than it actually is. Couple of good snipies. But Spirit is slowly adding on more and more libs. We do have an Overlord going around the side of the map. And I think what it's trying to get is vision to pop down the network. Probably aiming for the back of the natural or maybe even the main base of Spirit, depending on how patient Rogue is. Tactical nuke number 2 to try and break open this front line. Getting the lurkers nuked would obviously be amazing, but Rogue does find the tiny little red dot. Counterattack yet again on the right side of the map. There are some units waiting, but no banelings. Nidus Worm indeed does go up. Tactical nuke does land on the left. Fight over here on the right, though, is going to be good enough, but the Terran army needs to retreat back home to get rid of the Nidus Worm. And while there aren't really that many units in it just yet, we do see a Rogue loading some of them in, but only just now. We have a lurker as well on the right. Dude, Rogue is so freaking dangerous. Like, anytime I think I count Rogue out, he's somehow, some way making this work. I still think this is a rough spot for Rogue, because he's been up with his back against the wall for ages, but it seems like he didn't get the memo. I'm pretty sure this is when Zerg is supposed to roll over and die, but it's like Rogue is just disagreeing with that statement. He's like, nah, I don't need to do that. I don't need to worry about such things. I may not have a lot of income, I may not have good upgrades, but I'll keep fighting, and he's actually spraying a good bit of creep. His income is not bad. It's still 80 workers worth. What do we say to death? Not today. And apparently those are the words that Rogue is living by. So, despite the fact that I think Spirit is winning this, I still like what Rogue is doing better across the board. And that is even though Spirit is playing some really solid StarCraft. And I think Spirit is going to win this in the end, but it's just impressive what Rogue is capable of. 2 hatcheries die, though, and that is exactly what Spirit has been trying to achieve all this time. Yeah, now Rogue's income is going to take a nosedive. We have loads of command centers. We have great late-game upgrades here for Spirit. Yeah, GG gets gold. There is just nothing really here for Rogue remaining in the game. But man, did Spirit have to fight for this win. Okay, I think we know what we do. I think I know what Rogue is going to have to do. I think he's going to have to do an extractor trick and then send the drone across the map and build a hatchery right in the opponent's natural. I'm just spitballing here. Oh, he decides to go 13 OV. Ugh. Ugh. How weird. How quaint. How, dare I say it, ordinary. No more proxy hatcheries? Interestingly enough, though, I think that the proxy hatchery in the previous game, the one that Rogue lost, was more successful than in the game that Rogue won. The 2 games, actually, that Rogue won. I think the one match that he ended up losing in the end was also the one where the proxy hatchery was most successful. Very odd. Spirit, though, decides to check out front pretty far. No SCV scout, though, as he is following this up with a command center first. Okay, I love this. Spirit is leading the series 2-1. It's a best of 5. He knows, of course, that Rogue doesn't have a lot of wiggle room. So what are the odds that Rogue is going to go for a cheese yet again? Instead, he decides to go for a command center first, which is going to give him a booming economy right from the start. Rogue forced to go for something a lot more conventional. Okay, hatch into a gas, into a spawning pool. Extra drone will be rallied into it from the larva. And while this is, of course, the tried and true opener for Zerg, the one that we've been seeing for years, it will also be something that Spirit is very comfortable with. No SCV scout here from Spirit at all. Orbital number 1 is going to be fired up here in just a moment's time when the SCV spawns. There it is. And then when this command center finishes, it will also start growing a little orbital command on top of itself. Marine here as well as the first unit. So command center first, entirely scoutless. No Reaper, no SCV, no nothing. And I kind of love it. I think this is a terrible ladder build. But in a series like this, when you have some room to cut corners, it is very, very clever. A super fast third command center too. This reminds me a lot of the builds that we've been seeing, especially on the Korean server, from, for example, Maru, from, for example, Ryung. Now, with the Reaper, though, not showing up, Rogue decides to send these units across the map. It's only 4 links. There are 2 Marines. Will be enough. But we are going to dance a little bit. Third hatchery here building as well for Rogue. Link speed is going to be finished here in just a moment, and he did pull out of gas. No cheeky drones added back early on again. No sneaky Roach Warren hiding behind the mineral line. The latest Roach Warren you can go for if you want to go for some sort of aggression early on is like maybe 335 or so. So we kind of have to see it right about right now if that is what Rogue wants to go for. But it doesn't look like it at all. No, we are playing a much more conventional early game here, this time around. Super greedy build here from Spirit. Now, I love this build here from Terran, especially if you follow it up with like an 8 Rex. Because in a way, right, this is kind of cheesy from the Terran, but it's like an economy cheese, right? It's a little bit... If there's any aggression from Zork whatsoever, you die. But he's already gotten away with it. So if you now follow this up with an 8 Rex all-in, it is going to hit like an absolute truck. Everything is just going to hit faster because there's more economy, and because there's more economy earlier on, you end up with a larger army in the end. So something like this into an 8 Rex is fantastic. The risk that you take, well, it's already been taken, is that Zork is not going to be rushing you in the earlier stages of the game. And while Rogue has been unpredictable so far, Spirit at the very least got this guess right. Quick layer on the back of this, though, for Rogue, all things considered. No Baneling Nest, no Evo Chambers, no Roach Warren, not even really that many Queens. He's got 6 at the moment, 2 more coming up, so we are ending up with a reasonable amount, but Rogue has very little in the ways of defense. Now, he has now spotted the 3rd command center and the timing of it, so I think at this point he's going to be able to put one-on-one together and figure out exactly what Terran has gone for. It is still Heli and Banshee, but all of the timings here are a bit out of whack. Everything's been delayed a little bit as far as the actual units go. And the third command center is just going to proof everything here for the Zerg. He's going to figure out, okay, this is what Terran has been cooking up. So he's going to respond to the Terran's greed with greed. Rogue is now going up to like 3 base saturation off of 13 links. This is his army. He's going 4 hatcheries, old attack, a quick spire, non-stop creep spread off of this army. Again, these are professional gamers. Don't try this at home. Unless you don't care about your MMR, then go right ahead. Bunker building over at the third. Spirit has not even seen the other side of the map. He has seen a couple of Zerglings and an Overlord. Yep, there it is, trying to hide on top of a pillar for a bit. But that's really all he has seen. Now he decides to finally go for a bit of a move. Overlord, though, or Overseer, is going to scout out exactly what the follow-up is going to be. And for now, it's nothing too weird. Just good old 5 barracks. We'll have to see if he adds on 6, 7, and 8 here as well in just a moment. Spire, though, is going to be done. Rogue did save up a sufficient amount of gas. Overseer here, coming up defensively too, so the Queens can maybe be joined by the Mutas and then that Overseer to get rid of these Banshees. Okay. Hellions burning whatever they can, getting rid of some of the creep. But here come the Mutas. So a very passive game, considering how action-packed the first 3 games of this series have been. It's kind of crazy that we now end up with a game this passive. So this is, by the way, what Spirit wants to play most of the time, right? Like, this is what Spirit is aiming for pretty much every day of the week. Whereas some pro gamers out there will be able to log like 30 games a day. I think the average Spirit game is like 30 minutes long. Okay, maybe that's a slight exaggeration, but Spirit is physically, like, the days are not long enough to play 30 ladder games a day for Spirit. What about these Mutas, though, showing up? Yeah. 5 SCVs is not bad. Especially, of course, since he didn't really lose anything. But it is annoying for the Terran to have to deal with this. We still are, by the way, on 8 barracks. He did not yet fire up a 4th command center, no 2nd factory or anything like that at the front. But what we do have is just an awful lot of units. Spirit is doubling down on the aggression now, and this is one way to get those Mutalisks off your back. Siege Tank here does take a bit of a beating, but this is going to be one hell of a Terran army to contend with. Or contest with, rather. And how many Banelings do we have? Well, apparently if the Terran goes this deep onto creep, it decides to engage before the Terran is really properly set up and ready. The splits, though, here from Spirit are good, but the Siege Tanks have already died. More and more Banelings are joining in the fray. The creep is still good enough. Yep, Brenda here is going to be putting down a little bit more of it. Banshee's moving around the right side of the map. +2/+2 comes up here for the Terran too. And he decides to set up shop here yet again. These are the type of situations where Maru decides to pull the SCVs. And it's nice to see, right? The SCVs can really make the difference in fights like this. If you're already kind of committed to an all-in, it's not really that all-in here from Terran. There's a lot more on the back of this. But if you pull the boys right now, and this is more or less like a recent experimentation from the top-level Terran, but if you pull the boys right now, they might just be able to soak up a bunch of Baneling hits, and you might just feel like you can crush through all of this. Spirit extremely marine heavy, by the way. We have 70 marines. We had 71. I think he tried to kill one of the changelings. Turns out he killed one of his own marines instead. But we're basically playing mono battles right now. Like, we only have marines and a bunch of medevacs. That's it. 4th command center. Finally queued up. Considering how fast the first 3 CCs were, it does feel a little bit late. 2-2 here as well on the production tab, though, and it's going to be moments Especially for the infantry attack. It's going to be moments until it's done. Rogue yet again, and that's one of the weird things about these Muta-based openers. Your Evo upgrades just feel so late. One Banshee with like 2 HP is dead. It had some energy to cloak. Not quite in time. Here goes Spirit yet again. This time around, Spirit is maxed. Mutiling Bane counterattack. The supply depot positioning here. Look at the funneling. I love it. Making it difficult for those melee units to come in. Is there enough for Terran to break through? Now he's backing up into the loving embrace of the Zerglings, and Banelings coming in around the back too. I think this is an overextension from the Polish Terran in the end. Yep, now the Mutiling Bane is going to be able to clean all of it up, and Spirit recognizes it immediately. And what was looking like a phenomenal setup for the Terran suddenly comes crumbling down. GG. And that means it all comes down to this. Game number 5 in this best of 5 series takes place on Tato Citadel. An absolute banger of a series thus far. Yet again, by the way, we have Rogue going for a normal Overlord. No extractor trick. So I think that probably means we're not going for a proxy hatchery. I know. So we open up with a proxy hatch 3 games in a row. And then we decide to go for something a lot more conventional. Spirit, what are we doing? Another CC first? I mean, that's brave. I will say, it feels a lot more brave now than when the map score or the tournament score is 2-1. But Scoutless CC first yet again. From Piotr. Has to be one of the best Polish names out there. Piotr. It's interesting. A lot of the pro gamers refer to each other by their first name. But then there are some names out there. Like, nobody ever calls me Simon. That's weird. My mom calls me Simon, okay? I think Rainer probably gets called Rainer all the time. But the pro gamers will refer to Sero as Yona. And to Spirit as Piotr. Yeah, I'm not sure. Ooh, it's a double Rex follow-up this time around. So Spirit actually mixing it up a little bit. Yeah, nobody ever calls me Simon. No. Believe it or not, my mom did not call me Loco when I was born. Neither does my dad. No. No. They just refer to me as that guy over there who sometimes shows up at our place and eats everything in our fridge. That's usually what they call me. Yeah. Anyway. Orbital command coming up. Marine production has begun. It's a bunch of links going across the map right now for Rogue, who actually is leaving the drones in gas. Straight lair. Wait, what? 220 lair. 220 lair for Rogue? Hold up. Is this brilliant or is it dumb? As we know, genius is a bell curve. Many times, brilliant players will actually be stupid, and many times, stupid players will actually be brilliant. What is this? I can't quite... So we're going on extra queen? What are we building up with this? What's the point? Why did we go link speed? Why are we adding on extra gas? There's no way this can be a Spire. I would imagine the only logical thing here for Rogue... There's no Baneling Nest. Oh, okay. We're going Overlord speed? So we're gonna go Ling drops? Night is Worm I thought was going to be the obvious next thing, but this is, I guess, another idea. Rogue is just doing a Ling flood. I like, by the way, how I started this cast off being very excited about the prospects of Mass Overseer. Forget about it, Loco from the past, you idiot. That's not what we're doing at all. These games have been wildly different than what I anticipated. It feels slow, though. Yeah, Brenda hops into her private jet. Ooh, good scan here by Spirit, who now sees the Dropper Lords move out, and he sees the lack of any mining in the natural. That means we hide in the main base, we build up whatever we can. The only thing that Spirit needs to do now is not die. Which is what I've been trying as well in IRL for... how many years? Like 33 or so? It's been a while. It's a good build order. Highly recommend it. Let's see. Spirit definitely saw the Drop Lords coming in. If he finishes up Stimpack, that would be phenomenal. But this is going to be messy. He doesn't really know exactly what's going to be in here. The Lings will drop. The Queen is out. The SCVs are going in for repairs. If he finishes up Stimpack, which I think he will at this rate, this is going to be so much more manageable. And Rogue looks at the fight. He realizes that this is never going to happen. And just like that, it is Spirit who obtains the victory 3-2. So game number 1, 2, and 3 started off with proxy hatcheries. Game number 1 was a proxy triple Rex versus a proxy hatch. Game number 2 was like a very non-committed proxy hatch. Then game number 3 was a spine crawler rush. Then a much more conventional game number 4. And then we wrap it up like this? I didn't realize I got tickets to the circus today, but I enjoyed it. GG.